Wait, let me make sure.
I mean, we can, but if we get food now, we're gonna be eating while we're
I think the
debating.
idea behind being explaining
So I mean, like, if we can get food, but like,
this first,
you know what I mean?
It's like they're selected to be like people write in their name, but if they're petitioning for office, like there's and go through the channels to actually do that. Not like they want to run as a write-in, they don't just want to.
Second row, Rachel.
Yeah.
I know.
Oh, you can go ahead.
So yeah.
Yeah, I'm terrified.
Are they subjected?
Rachel.
Yeah,
of course.
Up until graduation or no?
Rachel, can you tell me that I should so wear my tie?
They told them I'm what the neutral party. Right?
Well, something new, I said something new.
Yeah, so typically with writing candidates, I mean,
Absolutely. Everyone.
we aren't doing any specific advertising for them, so they don't have to be listening.
Okay.
Good, so like.
Why are we not doing black tie? Yeah, now I would still just as a guide and they refer to the policy, outline, in terms of we're not gonna write. Okay, yeah, gotcha, yep, no, good question.
No, it's just, so yeah. Yeah, no problem.
Okay, good luck.
Thank you.
Nothing really springing about.
Is someone
Wait to get.
maybe the sound with it.
I have a like bag of tomatoes just.
It's your thing.
I'm not doing right outside. I'll take pictures. I'll take pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you can hear.
On YouTube?
Yeah, you do.
Oh, wait, I love
Hey.
this phone. Downstairs. Are you stuck there?
On the back.
Wait, I probably, I'm excited to use.
Hey.
Check it out on G8 girlies. Oh my gosh, hi from faculty.
Just remember. You're just in the bottom. Hey, stay. Noxious slurping.
I don't know about.
Stop. Hey, where do I go?
I almost skipped out
Like,
tonight, but
if you say something that's like viable and like something like that happens during the campaign, we can't be held like responsible for like sanctions on that.
Can you guys take our certificate?
Yeah, there are.
Yeah. I'm a fan of them later.
I'm gonna,
Or you can scan
I'm
out.
just gonna skip it out.
Then I get for you.
Yeah, mom.
Lawrence is.
It's fine, it's fine.
Great job. I would never want to be a third kid's instruction. This guy for a story.
Reading too much about this.
Framing it away.
No, I would be like my dad or before.
Okay.
Pre-made or like actually.
Yeah.
2 years ago, we got
He's fine.
Speak up.
I bought like a bag of like. chips and chips.
Chat responses.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right. Make sure you get your.
Right?
I'll get it at the end.
DD.
Oh, yes, I'll answer it next year. There's so many Jesses here, Jesus.
Does anyone want this napkins? Yeah.
I don't have a.
Son, oh yeah. I don't have one.
Sorry, no worries.
Oh, I wanna. I wanna see that.
Yeah, I got the thing. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Because then we don't have to get it in.
I told you I was gonna do that.
But also, okay, so the draft.
Heads up, everybody, we're gonna get started in like 3 minutes.
No, I know. Back.
Stir fry stuff, and it's like a creamy stir fry.
Okay, no, I just decided.
Standing.
Wait, that's crazy.
Well, I did research, like, but, like, so theoretical, esoteric, that, like, 'cause I knew I wasn't. I decided that was. I mean, basically doing just like a, so, well, the question I'm asking myself, and this question is like, is this sort of. I don't know, like, addressing it further, so I have a hypothesis that's just it's all part of it.
If you want to scan it out.
I could have actually done, I mean, survey.
Oh, yeah.
I just think the oversaturated point that it's that, I never really sort of had plans to ask, like, a lot of people. That's it, that would have been cool. It's so nice. Should I add that over
No breaks.
No break.
No breaks.
Okay.
Oh, so you're just saying no breaks.
This is like, just like, they were not like.
Yeah.
I know what.
Okay. You're gonna do that, you want me to smile?
Because I say in here that you're gonna be running.
Good.
Florida versus Houston, which one's the so close.
Yep.
Auburn, Michigan, yeah.
I didn't know he was flying, but.
Maybe the back one back there.
Yeah, actually,
Washing face.
Let's make sure I was checking in the front right Let's shut that door.
Oh, no. But I guess I was not gonna check it. Can you guys start taking your seats, please?
Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm gonna remind you guys multiple times throughout the debate, but none of us are like professionals at running a debate, so bear with us, please.
Yeah. Just please be on this.
Okay, all right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 2025 UNO Student Government Association Executive Ticket Debate. My name is Garrett Conley. I'm a senior here and I'm the Deputy Election Commissioner and I'll be your moderator. Next to me is the Chief Election Commissioner, Camden Carmichael, and he'll be running the timer for you guys. Each ticket will have 5 minutes to provide an opening statement, introducing themselves and their tickets, their priorities, and anything else they may want to add. After that, I will begin with questions. These questions are ones that I prepared and they have not been given to either executive ticket in advance. The only people that have seen them are the election commission. And that was 20 minutes ago. So each ticket will be given 1 minute and 30 seconds to respond to each question with an unlimited number of 15-second rebuttals to respond to the other ticket. However, it will be at the moderator's discretion of whether or not we will move on. We're gonna try to stop you guys from going in circles because that doesn't accomplish a whole lot. After about an hour, we will open up the debate to audience questions that have been pre-submitted. You can submit questions using the QR codes that are up there or around the room. And then after that, each ticket will have another 5 minutes to provide closing statements, and we'll wrap up. It'll likely be before 8 o'clock. We've prepared a lot of questions for tonight, so without further ado, help me welcome Unify UNO and the Torch. Okay, so I did a coin toss earlier prior to the start of the debate, and that landed with the Torch starting with their opening statement first. Go ahead.
Oh, hello, everybody. My name is Carson Gums. I'm the current student governance coordinator for the Student Government Association, and I'm running for the student body president position, SAS region. I'm running for this position after a much beloved year of connecting with this campus and learning more about this beloved community that I've been a part of for 5 years. I really found out so many aspects of this improvement that one can do within student government to this community and the much output that one can perform. And that's why I really just decided to really pursue this position, knowing that I can maximize the potential of student government and make student government's name very much respected, not only in our university, but throughout the whole NU system. This is about evolving what student government currently is, and really revolutionizing it to be something that is not only for students, but along with the students. And I'm really excited to talk about that throughout the debate today.
Thank you for your time, everyone. My name is Rosie Rangel. I'm running for your vice president for the Student Government Association here at UNO. I policy as FYLC ambassador and the senator of the College of Education, Health and Human Sciences. It's been a humbling experience to get to work with the student body. And as vice president is my due diligence to lead our new and our returning senators to achieve what they envision for the student body. It is also my due diligence to continue to serve my community in the way that the people see fit.
All right, hello everyone, I'm Amir Rafai and I'm running to be your next chief of staff. I'm running because I believe student government should work for students. And first and foremost, I want to say, I do not want this debate to be a war or an attempt at tearing each other down. I rather want it to be an informative time so that all of us can learn more about our campaign. And next up, I'm sure you'll hear a lot about them tonight, but my initiatives. Right now, student organizations are running into walls. They're being told no with no reason, especially when it comes to expressing themselves. Things that include like pro-Palestinian merchandise, menstrual products being denied. That's not transparency, that's not fairness, and that's not who we are. As chief of staff, I will work to end red taping and make sure every student has the freedom to advocate for what they believe in without bias and without roadblocks. Second, we all know students study at all hours. You've got jobs, you've got families, you've got responsibilities. So let's extend those library hours and make sure every student has the freedom to advocate. Sorry. So you have a quiet space, a focused space when you need it. And lastly, and finally, the shuttle system, everyone. Look, I've missed the shuttles, you've missed the shuttles, we've all missed the shuttles. It's time to fix that. I believe in better timing, better tech, and better communication. Because when students are supported, when their voices are heard, when the system works, they rise. And that's the kind of campus we should be building together. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, real quick, I want to point out, food, you can get it at any time throughout the debate. Don't hesitate to go back there and grab it. And then real quick, we're going to ask everybody to hold applause until the very end. Please do your best. Other than that, Unify UNO, it's your turn for your opening statement.
So hi, everyone. First, I want to thank all of you for coming out. I know that we're nearing the end of the semester, and so thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules and being here with us tonight to hear both of us talk about our different initiatives and everything that we want to work towards this next school year. We are Unify UNO, and as a team, we come from very different backgrounds on campus, but we are all united in one goal, and that is to build a more connected, supportive, and inclusive UNO. My name is Drew Lacey, and I'm your student body president / student regent candidate. I'm a business administration major with concentrations in management and leadership, as well as supply chain and logistics. And currently I serve as your director of finance.
Hey everyone, my name is Dee Rai and I'm your vice president candidate. I'm currently majoring in computer science on the pre-med track, and I'm the College of ICT Center and the current rules committee chair.
Everyone, my name is Gio Gomez. I am your chief of staff candidate for Unify UNO. I'm majoring in business administration and political science with a focus on pre-law, and I serve as the CVA senator and am a member of budget committee. Unify UNO's vision is to create a campus where every student feels heard, supported, and empowered to succeed. Now, to achieve this, we are committed to strengthening our community through advocacy, accessibility, and accountability. These are more than just words. They're the foundation of everything that we do here at Unify UNO.
Yes, advocacy means actively listening to every student's concern and using our platform to push for real change. It means bringing your voices with us, your concerns, your ideas, your stories, as we fight for what you as students need. Accessibility means breaking down the barriers, whether physical, financial, or institutional, so every student, regardless of background, can succeed. Accountability means delivering on promises, being transparent, and creating systems students can trust.
And our initiatives reflect these values. We will work to bring more diverse, healthy, and culturally inclusive food choices so that all students feel at home and cared for. Students deserve food that meets their dietary requirements and nutritional needs. And also, put it plainly, college is expensive enough without spending hundreds of dollars on books you barely use after one semester. We're going to push for more UNO courses to adopt open educational resources, which are free, high-quality educational resources that are alternatives to textbooks. Every dollar saved is one more a student can put towards their future.
Yes, and we've all been there. Temperature drops below 0 or snowstorms hit and everyone's asking, are we gonna have classes tomorrow? Or your professor says nothing about using AI tools and suddenly you're at risk for using one for one of your classes. We will fight for transparent policy so students are not blindsided by unclear rules or expectations. Additionally, students should not have to go through a battle just to get accommodations. If support systems are difficult to access, they're not doing their job. We will work with accessibility services to streamline the accommodation process so no student is left behind.
And finally, students deserve leaders who are transparent, responsive, and follow through on their promises. Whether it's SGA or administration, we'll work to create systems that ensure student concerns are heard, decisions are clearly communicated, and leadership is held accountable every step of the way.
We're students just like you. Students have seen what needs to be fixed, and we are ready to act. With our experience in student government, advocacy, and leadership across multiple areas of campus, we know how UNO works, and we're ready to make it work better for you.
To the UNO student body, we've heard your concerns. These initiatives aren't checklist items for us. They're products of the change you want to see. Whether it's accessible food options or acceptable technology usage in class, these initiatives are about ensuring that every day on this campus is one where you feel supported and motivated to succeed at UNO and beyond.
Unify UNO is more than just our name, it's our mission. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Okay, so moving on to the general questions. First one, kind of a toughie. Under the current presidential administration, diversity, equity, and inclusion programs are under attack across the United States, and we're seeing that trickle down right here to UNO. So what do you believe the role is of SGA and should be the role to protect DEI initiatives here at UNO? And we're gonna start with Unify UNO.
We understand the continued frustration that is going on with the current legislative processes and everything that's being thrown up from the above. And it's hard to say what DEI initiatives we want to push without knowing what you as students are wanting. We can't say we're gonna do X, Y, and Z without knowing what your priorities are. So as the ticket, our first goal is to listen to you, host a town hall, push out surveys to see what you guys are struggling with. Because what we see right now may not be what you think is more important. So having that feedback would be essential in figuring out the next steps.
Yeah, and building off of that, a huge thing that we're running off of on our ticket is amplifying student voices. And it's we're not amplifying our voices, we're amplifying your voices. And in order to do that, we have to connect with you guys and figure out we have to figure out what you guys as students want. And then that's what we amplify, not our own voices.
Just to follow up on that, I think ultimately the most important thing we can do as we move forward in this, unprecedented times where things are just going left and right, we don't know what the next steps are going to be. We need to ensure that you guys are working with us. We need to be working with you to ultimately make sure that we're representing you in the best way possible.
Thank you, Unify. Same question for the torch. I'll read it again real quick and you'll have a minute and a half to answer. What do you believe the role of SGA is and should be to protect DEI initiatives here at UNO?
Yeah, so with DEI, obviously, there's a lot of unanswered questions. And I'm sure all of you would like to know what's gonna happen, especially with the closure of our DEI office. I believe a lot of that has to be with transparency within administration. One of the biggest things is the departments that really focus on culturally diverse studies, like our OLS department or our Black Studies department. We're wanting to know if those departments are gonna be able to be kept around for our students to graduate on time. I believe that's one of the biggest concerns that I've heard. Also, knowing our funding and our audit that's going on right now, it's also making sure that we understand where we can get money from in order to invest into our initiatives that cost. Around 50% of our budget is federal funding. Private funding and investment from fellow Omaha communities such as our alumni association. Those are one of the biggest things that we have to turn to our community for and for private organizations to help us with funding DEI. We must be very careful when it comes to DEI funding and not putting our students at risk. But just that transparency and moving forward with how we're going to deal with audits and all those things like that and just budgeting. It's really important that we hit those main targets first.
Thank you, Torch. And I'm gonna ask both of you this question. I'm gonna start with the Torch. So this coincides with the DEI question. Colleges again across the country like UNO are facing a loss in federal funding if they don't cut programs like this. And so we know that without federal funding, we can't operate. And so what would you like to see UNO do in the face of threats to federal funding? Just any thoughts you have on that? Again, I'll start with the Torch, a minute and a half.
Yes, when it comes to UNO and how we want to make sure that we can still do DEI initiatives and we can still champion our diverse community here at UNO, we need to ensure that when we're pulling from funding, it is not from that federal funding that we're doing. That's why I really want to outlook to the Alumni Association, the private funding that they've been able to accumulate and the investors in the community and make sure to get those community outputs in line so they can help us fund our DEI initiatives. So we can make sure that we can continue these initiatives, these events, these groups that champion it to make sure that they cannot be closed down due to any audit or government intervention. It is very much essential that SGA builds up its line of community investors and private funding and I would say self-monetization of just accumulating money on their own to make sure that we can still champion these DEI initiatives, our agencies, and with that, even if the government system in the US itself comes down on us, we can still survive and just say we're not going to use federal funding, but we have our own funding to keep pushing our initiatives here on our campus.
Thank you. Unify?
Yeah, so I think that's a really good question. And with threats of cutting federal funding, that is a big threat. We don't want our students to lose their Pell Grants, their loans, anything like that. So when it comes to the idea of, changing DEI or taking it out, I disagree with that entirely. But what we've seen universities do across the United States is comply with these new regulations, but at the same time, not really. They're keeping the same initiatives while just slightly tweaking the wording to comply. And so ultimately, I would want to ensure that we're not losing any of our programming that protects DEI, while still kind of trying to find a balance that complies, but we still keep everything here. But at the same time, I think we need to be very proactive in the case that something were to happen and we have no way of getting DEI funding from the university. We need to be very proactive. This was something I talked with the previous regent about, doing something similar to Wear Black Give Back. We have a very active community here at UNO, one that supports DEI and would we've already seen time and time again how much dissatisfaction they've expressed with the closure of our DEI office. If we were to do something like that each year where we raise money from the community, I think we could do something that would support students even more than we have.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna start this question directed at the torch. We've seen a backlash against student protests in other areas of the country. How can SGA work to protect students seeking to have their voices heard? Again, you got a minute and 30 seconds.
SGA can protect students in several means. We have a lot of power here, and our job here is to advocate for them. And so when the students will come up to us and they'll tell us that they are facing these issues with expression, we'll be the people at the forefront. We will be the ones writing resolutions. We will be the ones meeting with faculty and the ones making their voices heard. It goes above just having a meeting with them. It goes above than just presenting a resolution. It's change. We'll make them heard. We'll bring awareness to their story, bring eyes to their story. So then their experience will be changed and enhanced so that they won't face that injustice anymore, because we will be the ones championing to the faculty, to the administration, forcing the change.
And I will add on to that we'll stand with our students. If they come to student government, we will stand with them. The resolutions pass. We will not veto any resolution supporting any group that they want to defend. We will make sure that student government makes their voices heard to the biggest of extent, and put protections in our own body to make sure that none of the senators could quiet down their voices like has happened in SGA pass.
Thank you. Unified?
Yeah, absolutely. So can you repeat the question? Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're fine. So, there's been a backlash against student protests across the country. We've seen a variety of different schools respond in a variety of different ways. How can SGA work to protect students seeking to have their voices heard?
Absolutely. Again, it's installing the transparency between SGA and the student body and using us as a way to, I don't know if students do know this, but Amir kind of had said that us as student government, like we write resolutions, but as students, you guys can also write resolutions. And I think that's really important. I don't think a lot of students actually know that. So that is one way to get your voices heard. And that is one active way that we as student government can not only support you guys, but how you guys can support your own voice, and then how we can even amplify it even more.
Thank you. Okay, anything to add from anybody? Okay, all right, so I'm gonna stay on that topic. You talked about resolutions there for a second. Sorry, I lost where I was at. Without getting personal, what have you seen SGA current or past do that they need to do better, or if anything, and what would you do to make it better? Where do you see room for improvement? I'm gonna start with the torch.
Yes, one of the rooms for improvement that I really see is adding the student reviewer. Our senators and even executive team, sadly, even though it is within their roles and within in the bylaws that they should communicate with their college and the executive team, of course, with the student body, we often don't do it. We often talk to people in our friend circle, even in the SGA circle, and issues that we want to bring up. With the student reviewer, if put into the bylaws, it would enforce every single senator and every single executive member to need to talk to a student, about a resolution, about an issue, and see if they agree with it. And then once that student signs off, it will go to the Senate. This will not only help with that connection with SGA and the student body, but it will help with that transparency. Students will hear more about SGA. Students will naturally just see their senators working within the community. They will see executive members working within the community. And with my administration, the executive branch will immediately start implementing the student reviewer by EM. And I'll make sure that every single executive member, if they push a resolution forward, will have a student named in that resolution.
And if I may add to that, with this implementation of our senators going out to our student body, it creates a very more warm environment. So students are less scared to present in front of the Senate. They're less scared and fear of judgment. If they see our senators connecting with their students, it becomes an easier environment.
But you're out of time.
Unify UNO, same question. What does SGA need to do better? And if anything, what would you do to make it better?
That's a great question. I would like to say something before I go into my answer. The fact that we don't have a student reviewer right now is due to the fact that there's a lot of legality and the structuring of resolutions is something that students need to be trained on, and that's a long process. If we were truly to do something like this, I think an alternate
So the way would be to have student sponsors so that students can still provide feedback and still partake in the resolution. As far as what student government can do better is that right now we should be empowering students to write resolutions that they think benefit the students. Students, senators and students should be communicating with each other. I've been doing that with my own college, and it's communicating, going out and saying, what concerns do you have, and bringing that back to students and being empowered to write those resolutions.
Just to continue off of that, I think there isn't an issue with people who want to use their voice to create change. I don't think they know how to. So what I think we need to do is make workshops or town halls where students can come in and learn how to write resolutions, learn how to use their voice, learn what the process looks like for student government, maybe get the schedule of when we have our meetings. I think that would be very beneficial for students to get more involved in the process.
Short, but you got 15 seconds to rebut.
Just a rebuttal, I do believe students can review. In the end, it is all about reading the resolution itself, seeing the issue that is put out there, and just commenting on it. It is not about knowing the whole bylaws guide. It's all about, there's an issue stated, an issue that you say that you can resolve, and just saying.
Sorry, you're out of time.
Yes.
Anything left to add, you and Jai? Okay, all right, I'm gonna direct this question to Carlos and Drew specifically. How would you guys work to establish credibility with the Board of Regents? Arguably, I mean, it's a very important part of what you guys would do. I'm gonna start with Drew over at Unified.
Yeah, absolutely. So a big thing is, I think I can speak for both Carlos and I, is that neither of us have met Regents. I don't know about Carlos, but I've never met a Regent in person. But again, it's having the conversations and building trust with the Regents. Like coming from the political climate that, you know, Nebraska is within and where the Regents stand, it's important that we meet on an even playing field, so that way we can benefit every student on the NU campus, not just students at UNK, not just students at UNL. It's important that students on all 4 campuses are able to express how they feel. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes, when I do get to the Board of Regents, and I will start my credibility by just saying that I have met 2 Regents previously. At this point, I have very good connection between all 4 campuses here at the NU system. I am very much aware of many issues around a whole NU system. I'm very well connected with the legislative branch of Nebraska's government, and even gotten to know some student senators and brought a senator from the legislative branch here to UNL. You know, I'm very much already very ready to hit the ground running in the Board of Regents and in our legislative body and push for advocacy, and also just more legal change in the state of Nebraska. And I'm already preparing to not only impact our campus, but every single Nebraskan campus here by pushing the hunger-free campus bill, not only in our university, but all universities in the NU system. And I have a lot of already senators on board on me to push this resolution as soon as I do become regent of this university.
Okay, moving on, each one of the 6 of you is gonna get a minute and a half. You don't have to use the whole time to answer this. We're gonna take a step back though and talk about your guys' experience. So what experiences do you have that you believe have prepared you to take on this role? I'm gonna start with Carlos and we're gonna go down and we'll end with Rosie.
Yes, well, my experiences that have prepared me for the show is truly, the student wellness coordinator has been a lucky position to be appointed by. I've been able to connect to almost every single student leader here at the university and been able to really get to know students. I've been able to apply surveys, student campus wide. I've been able to just see a lot of feedback come in. I've been able to work with our Greek Black community and know their issues deeply, and be there for 3 hours with just the Greek Black advisor and just talk about these issues. I know this campus deeply and very much know the leadership structure, and I'm very much eager to apply that experience as regent here at the university.
Well, if you don't mind, could you just repeat it one more time?
Yeah, so what prior experiences do you have that you feel prepare you for the position you are seeking to get elected for?
Wonderful. Okay, so I'm current FYLC ambassador, so I've already had my foot in student government and I love it here. I hold the chair position in MSA. And in addition, I'm in the process of putting together some clubs here as well. And leadership is nothing new to me. Throughout high school, I was captain of rugby and I'm still coaching. And my vision is to just have a dedicated staff, dedicated caring staff. And throughout my various positions on campus, I meet a lot of people and talk to a lot of people. And a lot of people do come to me with problems, especially with my FYLC position and my MSA position. So I feel like I'm very tapped into the community. I hear a lot of people from various areas, not just one college, not just one group, but a variety of people here.
Thank you, Aditi.
So as I said, mentioned before, I'm the current Senator for ICT and the Rules Committee Chair. But beyond student government, I'm involved in a lot of things that don't even relate to my major. I'm part of a business club, Future Business Leaders of America. I am the president of the Explore Biology Club. I help lead the CIST Advisory Board, where we provide recommendations to administration and the college itself and provide ways how we can improve the experience that students have in that college. I'm also beyond like school, I help lead a nonprofit organization where we have partnered with various nonprofits around the world, Khan Academy, Love Michael, all of them, and have helped 15,000 high school students find nonprofit opportunities and actually excel in what they will wish to do in the future. And I bring these experiences back as we fight ways on how to advocate for students and what we can do to make the student experience better.
Thank you, Drew.
Yeah, so absolutely. So currently I serve as the director of finance, and I think it's safe to say that this year student government has really struggled with its finances in the case of an audit and a defunding all within the same year. And stepping into student government late or early last semester, being hit with the defunding right away, the region and I sat down right away and we tried to create a rough draft of an interim policy that would grant our agencies their funding back, because that is how we as student government, that is just one of the ways that we amplify voices, is that money is given to our agencies to provide services, provide events that help connect the student body. Outside of SGA, I also serve on the HSA board as a second year representative. I come from a very small town, so I know what it's like to be very connected with a very diverse group of people and how to effectively hear all different sides of opinions, stories, and everything, and how to create an informed decision and what's like the best position to take or the best informed decision to make.
For people that may not know, what's HSA?
HSA is Honor Student Association.
Gio, go ahead, you got a minute and a half.
So first off, starting with student government, I've been on student government for 3 years since freshman year. I've served on budget committee since then. Just outside of that, I am the president of a Greek life organization, Pi Kappa Alpha. I'm also the president of the Pre-Law Society. I'm also involved in 2 colleges as a dual degree, the College of Business and the College of Arts and Science. I am involved with the Honors Program and the CBA Scholars Academy, which is the business honors program. And all of those experiences have exposed me to a multitude of different ideas, experiences, values all across campus. And I think one problem I've seen here on campus is a lack of unity. I see people get very divisive and they divide themselves based on how they're involved in something or, maybe what their major is, just little things like that. And especially as an ambassador for Free the Facts, which is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization on the nationwide scale. It's an organization that works to unite our generation on issues that are going to one day affect us, that are such as, Medicare, federal loans, Social Security, these issues that are real issues that are going to one day be our problem. So I think that's one thing as chief of staff I really want to build is unity, and that we can come together and work on issues that are affecting us at the campus level and one day nationwide.
And Rosie.
Could you repeat that question?
Yeah, what experiences do you feel have prepared you for the job that you're seeking, Vice President?
Yeah, so I've been a part of SGA since my freshman year. I served as the FLC ambassador and commissioner. I also held a seat as a senator in the College of Education, Health and Human Sciences. But outside of that, I feel like that's where a lot of my leadership also takes place. I work as an RA for the Dodge Housing and Residence Life, so I get to see students not just in their buildings, but I also get to see the way students live and seeing what their needs are off campus when they're in their dorms and in their living suites. I would say that I'm also in Durango's Outfitters. I've worked with Durango's Outfitters. I'm on their exec team. I am their logistics coordinator. Just kind of figuring out like how many students we have coming in, kind of all the data, all of that, how we can build our organization. And I believe that seeing kind of that double-sided life of students on campus and as they're studying for their academics, but also students who are going back to living on campus as well, I can see the difference in the double-sided life. Because, you know, school doesn't just end when you leave, you know, Roskins or leave when you leave Ash. So it definitely continues onto our campus life for living. And I think that being in a position of like the vice president, you hold a lot of privilege, and there's a lot of responsibility that comes with that. And so it's important to understand that we are chosen by the student body to be in these positions, and it comes with a lot of responsibility and a lot of respect for our constituents.
Reach your time.
Thank you, everyone. We kind of heard Gio talk about it a minute ago, unity. There is a lot of division in a lot of ways on campus, whether it's major or anything else. I'd like to hear what you guys believe your executive tickets SGA can do to help unify the campus community. I'm gonna start with Unify UNO.
Yeah, so I think a really good initiative that we would want to bring in is we do have RSO like meetings with organization presidents coming in. But I feel like those are too big to where people can actually spread their voice and speak up. So what we would want to do is do meetings with each college individually and the organizations from those colleges to where it's a smaller, more personal setting where they can actually use their voice to speak up. So yeah.
The torch.
Yes, in my wonderful year here, I just, as student wellness coordinator, it is pretty much that I see like, it's easy to just do one meeting of inviting all student leaders and invite them to share their voice with us. At this point, I think this has been an outcry not only from this year's student leaders, but previous SGA administrations to give every single RSO an ambassador seat, a seat at the table in SGA Senate business meetings. So they can directly not only push resolution, but also be able to review resolutions and also be able to sponsor resolutions and their voices to matter to a bigger extent. Also, in my administration, I'm gonna add the Director of External Affairs. So we're able to connect wider to campus, to multiple student groups. So it's not only them coming to us, but we go to the student leaders as well, connecting both gaps. They will have a seat at our table if they want to join us here at SGA, but we're always gonna be with them. And also I'm gonna be implementing the Agora Assembly, where every single student leader coming from RSOs, from SGA and from Greek life will have a seat at the table to speak within leadership and talk about these ideas that we want to push forward as a body. It's all about giving our student body the tools to be able to empower them to actually push change. Instead of SGA being the hero, all of us are going to be the hero of the story. We work together, as long as we work together and we move as a unit, we will move miles. And I love that.
Thank you. Okay, so it's been an interesting year here at UNO with working with administration. So I'm very curious. A big part of your guys' job is gonna have to be whoever wins, you're gonna have to work with administration in some capacity. I want to hear how you're gonna foster an environment of trust with admin. Go ahead, Torch.
Oh, I love this question. I actually work with administration plenty, been invited to many meetings within administration, and we've been having the pleasure to work with a lot of our Hayden House administration here at UNO, and know many of them personally, and they're very lovely people. In the end of the day, I know that I am very aligned with the ideals that admissions have, but I'm also very aligned with what the students want. I know that my student initiatives will not only uplift students, but also uplift the mission that our administration here has at UNO. I know that the administration here at UNO wants students to stay. They want students to enroll. They want more alumni to come back and invest in our wonderful community. As well as I know that students want a student life, student community, a change so they can feel more welcome to this campus. I know that I'm able to align that vision that administration has with the student. And I know that in the meetings that I sat, they're very happy with what I presented. And I know as Regents, they'll be more than happy to see what I have to present this next academic year. And I know that we will be able to do a lot of amazing work that will lift not only the student body, but our campus as a whole as UNO.
And I think adding on to that, if the pen isn't up, but I think adding on to that, that we understand that there's a mutual respect for each other, right? I think that sometimes when, we're fighting for student body initiatives and as well as going with administration, I think it's important that we understand that there's a mutual respect and that we can be transparent towards each other as well.
Thank you. Same question, Unify UNO, how would you foster an environment of trust with the administration?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we can all agree that over the course of this past year, there are many mixed feelings about administrators and administration itself, some good, some bad. I think it's important that we as student representatives amplify your voice and what you guys want done. And that is going to happen with working with administrators and accomplishing what you guys want to get done.
Yeah, I think just to carry off on that, ultimately, us administrators, we have the same goal, to ensure that you students are best supported and you feel that you belong here. So as long as we are moving on those same values and those beliefs, we have no problem working with administration on those beliefs that we are doing the best for students. Once we get a little further away and there's no more communication, no trust, no collaboration, that's where we have to kind of take a step back and reevaluate the situation and ask ourselves, are we really prioritizing the students' well-being? So I think in that aspect, that's when we need to understand that maybe we need to bring more student voices onto the discussion to voice their concerns and kind of what they want to see changed.
Building off that just a little bit longer if I have the
You got
time.
20 seconds.
I said this in an interview with the Gateway, but also like we are all fighting for the same thing. Why are we fighting each other? That does not make sense to me. Like we are fighting for you guys as students because at the end of the day, we want you guys to benefit the most on campus. It's not about administration benefiting. It's not about us three benefiting.
All right, so moving on, you all have mentioned this multiple times in the last 38 minutes. Transparency is something both of your campaigns talk about. I scrolled through your Instagrams, you've both mentioned it multiple times. How would you like to improve transparency between SGA and the student body? I'm gonna start with Unify UNO.
I think one of the great first steps that we can do is ensuring students know when student government is meeting, what we're doing, having the agenda released to the public so that you know what we're going to be discussing, so that if you do have concerns, that you can bring them up. Or as it was mentioned before, having student senators go out and tell you guys that, hey, we're going to be working on this. What are your inputs? What are your concerns? And bringing that back and slowly ensuring that while we do everything in terms of student government laws, we're also fighting for what you need.
And building off that, I think that there have been some decisions made within the past year that I think SGA itself has felt like they were out of the loop, and therefore I think the student body as a whole was left out of the loop. So I think it's important that the transparency starts within the entirety of SGA so the transparency can continue on to the student body.
Thank you. Go ahead, George.
Yes, I really love this question. I'm actually gonna introduce, if I were to win this election, I'm gonna introduce the Director of Communications. This is a similar role that you'll see at our sister location here at UNL. But basically, the Communications Director would be totally in charge about communicating SGA's agenda to the student body. I wanna replicate things like the Gateway being on the floor, handing out when we're meeting, handing out things that were passed, talking about, discussing it. We'll have 2 outreach coordinators going across not only Dodge campus, but also Dodge and Scott campus to make sure that we're sharing what SGA is doing and working on and just stopping and talking to students personally. That will be their job and their task, and the communications director will make sure that the way that we're communicating these things are effective with the student body. By having these specific roles and delegate them appropriately, we'll see a big impact in the awareness of SGA and our agenda and what we're really pushing to the student body.
I think,
Sorry.
no, you're good.
Okay, in addition to that, everything we do in student government technically is posted, but you kind of have to jump through a lot of hoops to get to it. So to increase that transparency, we have a big platform on social media. So I would love to have more posts about every Thursday or what day we pick. We have our meetings for this, and this is what we're gonna go over. That's an easy step to make, and that will exponentially increase student engagement and transparency.
Thank you. Yeah, sorry, the time's up.
You're all good.
Anything to add, Unify? Okay, all right, so this question is gonna go to Unify UNO, then we'll go to the torch, but I would like you guys to talk a little bit about your policies, the things that you want to accomplish. Again, I know it's a lot to condense down in a minute and a half. After we answer this question though, keep in mind I am gonna ask you a relatively similar question. I'm gonna have you pick if you had to choose one policy that you could implement over the next year. So be thinking about that. But Unify UNO, if you wanna talk about your platform and your policies a little bit, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are multiple different initiatives that we are trying to incorporate over the next year. One of them has to do with campus safety. I don't know if, I'm sure a lot of you guys have been walking around lately on campus and you see all the call boxes wrapped up in black tarp bags right now and say out of service. And I was walking around with one of my friends the other day and they said that there's a possibility that UNO could be getting rid of those. It is important for us that campus safety is a *1 priority, and without those, I don't think that there's a way that students can feel safe. Another initiative that we want to work towards is a better, well-stated AI policy within coursework. Some students are allowed to use AI, some students aren't, and sometimes it's just not explicitly stated within the course syllabus. And we want to make sure that it's stated in every course syllabus, so that way when you do use it, you're not punished for it. Another thing is we want to work with the proper parties in making sure that more inclusive and healthy food options are incorporated down on the main cafeteria on Scott campus. And so those are just three, and there's also others I can.
So I mentioned this earlier, but we don't want to be here when it's like freezing, like -20, -30 degrees. And so just having a clear weather policy as to like, will we have to come to school tomorrow? So we'll know exactly, and we can make arrangements as necessary.
Time.
8 seconds, but you can rebut after the torch goes.
All right.
Okay, go ahead, torch.
Yes, my main policy that I really want to implement is just that RSO and Greek life initiative. I want to invest in our Greek life and RSO community, and I want to make sure that all the infrastructure that I've set up in my Instagram and all of the things that I've put out is installed out there and really settled to be written into our bylaws by the end of my term. It is something that I'm gonna champion the whole year. I'm gonna make sure that those ambassador seats are filled, all 187 seats. I'll push for most of them to be filled, and that our student senate business meetings are packed. I'm gonna make sure to champion that, and the Agora Assembly is really established and it really has that format. But that's my main initiative. And we're gonna push initiative because community is the life of UNO, and that's what I really want to champion and really want to invest on.
Thank you. You still got time if you want to.
Okay, one of my main initiatives, or two of my main initiatives, would be obviously DEI, protecting and defending DEI and the policies that we have in place. But also another initiative would be to end our restrictive food policy. I don't believe that the catering system would be open to allowing new foods to come in. I believe that students should be able to use the buildings that they pay for. We pay a lot of tuition money, and for students not be able to bring in food that they want, whether it's for religious purposes or cultural purposes, we should allow and also trust our students to bring in food that works for them.
We appreciate your time.
Carlos, did you have something you wanted to add? You've got 15 seconds if you do. Carlos?
Gio.
Why did I just say that? Gio,
Yeah.
you have something you want to
I'll make
add?
this quick. One of the things we want to work on is textbook affordability. Textbooks are very expensive, and when you go to return them at the end of the semester, you don't get your money's worth. So we want to push for more open education resources.
Go ahead.
If I may say something regarding the security post, I would argue that the reasoning for them being removed definitely is more than it's definitely not just trying to make the students feel uncomfortable or unsafe. I feel like there's a possibility that I've seen a lot more police cruisers around our campus. They stop.
Increase your bubble time, I'm sorry.
No worries.
Anything to add?
Yeah,
No, Carlos.
just as a.
Yes.
Gio.
This is a quick rebuttal. I don't think we should just roll out the safety boxes just because they're not being used as much. We want them to be there as an option, just in case something were to happen. Just because there's police cruisers doesn't mean that everything's good. So.
Okay.
So I would argue, like, if the campus has had them for however many years and they haven't seen use, everyone has the phone number, everyone has their phones I assume, that the police watches have definitely increased. I've seen them throughout the year increase way more.
Sorry,
They have
Regents
stops
already.
everywhere.
Just as one more rebuttal, my freshman year, I used the safety call box. I saw a fight break out on Scott campus. And when I was living in Scott Court 3, it was easy for me to just push the button and kind of run away, so I wasn't involved with the altercation. They came very quick.
I think it's safe to say that our ticket is very highly focused on campus safety.
Reached your time.
Anything final to add? All right, well then we will cut it off there. I'll go ahead and do that follow-up question. If we can do just a quick down the road, if you guys could implement one policy, what's like your favorite policy that you would really like to see? I'll start with the torch.
We got 1 minute.
Yeah, 1 minute. and
Okay, got it. So
30
yeah, we would like to reaffirm, it is my Greek life and also policy initiatives. That's my main one. It's the one that I'm gonna champion, the one I'm gonna work along with, no along on. Not next academic year, August. I'm gonna be working the whole summer in making sure the infrastructure, it is set on point, that we have everything written down, that all the student leaders are communicated how we're gonna champion these roles, how we're gonna the ambassador role. How we're gonna train those ambassador roles into the Senate. I'm gonna make sure that whole infrastructure is set, and then my new director positions that I'm implementing are trained and aware of what it's gonna be their task to communicate to the student body next year. That's gonna be the main initiative that I champion, and the one that I know SGA has the most power in performing and getting through this next academic year.
Okay, we'll go Rosie and Amir. Technically, you each have 1 minute and 30 seconds, but take whatever time you need.
One of my initiatives, I think, the Sodexo food policy. I think that students, again, like I've said before, students pay thousands and thousands of dollars in tuitions, and I think that it would be a shame if we don't let students use the buildings that they want and to bring in food. Sodexo cannot cater food that, a lot of students, I would say that you can't replicate culture very well without the students. You need to have the students be able to represent their culture in the way that they see fit. I think that gives students a lot of autonomy on what they decide to cook, especially for events for religious purposes as well as for cultural diverse purposes. So allowing students to use, whatever rooms they have, as well as whatever foods that they want to make, and being able to trust students is a really big part in my initiative.
Amir, you've also got 1 minute and 30 seconds.
All right, I love all of mine, they're like my kids, but I'll say library and shuttle, though they're very annoying for the student body, they're definitely not the same caliber as the red taping. I feel like it's paramount that our students feel heard, that our students can express themselves. I mean, it's our First Amendment right, so I very much believe that one would be the one I would want to see flourish, so that our students won't have these blockages when they're trying to better our student body, make themselves heard, or put events together.
All right, we'll move on to Unify, whichever one of you wants to start. It's more than welcome to.
Something I want to really work on this upcoming year is the AI policy. So I've been working on this for a while with the faculty senate. I started in December, finally got it passed this past week or two. And it's something as students that we may use ChatGPT, we may use other forms of AI that there's so many out there that I can't even mention in all once today. We should be able to use them as we can. They're a great educational resource and they're there to help us succeed. And it's especially important that staff or faculty state what their usage allowance is, because not every college or not every professor will allow you to use them. College of ISMP just launched their AI major. That major may use AI more than any other college or any other major would. And so I think it's fair that we as students know what the AI policy is, so that if we do use them, we are not penalized.
For me, I really want to plan to focus on campus safety. The torch has brought up extending library hours, and I think if that is an initiative that the students want, that is something that we are happy to champion as well. But also with that, if we're gonna have extended hours into buildings, there has to be campus safety, because there's gonna be more students on campus. There's gonna be more, activity on campus, and that's something that we want more inclusivity. We want students to stay on campus in between classes and not go home or, go here and there. We want them to stay on campus. So they can join organizations and everything like that. So it's not just with the call boxes, it's also working with the public safety office and making sure that everything is up to date and that you guys are protected at all times.
I would say my biggest initiative relates to reuniting this campus to times before COVID. And that comes with Greek life. But it isn't something that we need to ask ourselves what the campus can do for Greek life. It's what Greek life can do for our campus. I think this entire university, it's not all Greek life. And I think we really, as coming from someone who is involved with Greek life, the problem isn't within, it's like extending ourselves out to the rest of the campus. And this is something that I saw when we did Greek Week a couple months ago. This was an event where we invited students from all over campus to come and participate and learn what Greek life was about. I want to do more events like that to unite the campus, educate on what Greek life looks like, and ultimately just bring us together and have fun. I think that's a really cool initiative that I want to push for.
I will give you one quick rebuttal.
Yes, I just want to really add that to unite the student body, you cannot only say that you want to unite them, you need to have systems in place that will unite that student body. I want to do the same, but I have various systems already written down and in place that will do that.
Anything to add, Unify?
When it comes to uniting, like I said, I want to hold more on-campus events, just like Greek League. I want to expand that because I saw a lot of success. Someone who went to almost every Greek event that day or that week, I saw a lot of people come in and learn what Greek life was about that they hadn't known before.
Thank you. All right, moving on, we're gonna keep on the policy track here, but in terms of policies that have already been enacted, what would you guys like to see expanded? I'm gonna start with Unify UNO. Is there a policy that's been passed by either the current administration or past ones, student government, not UNO admin, that you would like to see expanded upon? And go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's multiple that we could, talk about. One for me is one that I wrote this past year. It's safety for on-campus student workers. There have been multiple, when I was writing that resolution, I talked to multiple on-campus student workers. I was one of them at the time. And there was a lot of distrust between the managers and the actual workers, and that students did not feel protected. And I really want to make sure that if you are an on-campus student worker, we are working with Garrett Gassman and we are working with the proper parties to make sure that, you as a student are being trained because, this is college life. You're going to have a life after college, and it's how are you going to excel in work life after college? It's not just about how are you going to excel, on an on-campus position, but it's about how can we prepare you for later in life as well.
All right, Torch?
You repeat the question.
Yeah, of course. What current policies have been implemented on campus that you would like to see expanded or improved upon?
On campus or SGA?
It can be either, but I was thinking more
Yeah,
SGA.
I'll go with SGA. Basically, I passed a resolution about SGA extending and collaborating more with the student body. It's one that we did build upon by doing the RSO Council. RSO Council, very proud of that achievement, and the newsletter. I want to keep building on that, and that's why my initiative of extending, of investing and empowering our committee and our committee is so important. It's one that I'm gonna build on beyond what it is this year, and that since that already passed, I know I'm just gonna be able to keep putting onto it. Some things that didn't happen this year, like our committee meetings, putting reports out for the student body, did not happen this year. Something that is written down in that resolution, and many other aspects of it that will be implemented. And I'm really proud that resolution passed with the help of the centers that really helped it pass, and I'm really just one that we'll really invest on this year.
I'm gonna ask one more and then we're gonna move on to some audience questions. It's been just about an hour. If I could get each of you, I'm gonna start with the Torch. If I could get each of you to talk about what you believe the importance of your role would be if you get elected. So for example, like what do you believe the importance of your role as vice president would be? I'm gonna start with the Torch. If we can do president, VP, chief of staff, that would be great. So go ahead, Carlos.
The importance of my role is to be able to represent all of our students here at UNO. Currently is around 15,000. It could be more or less next year. But in the end of the day, my role is to represent them. My role is to go out there and to speak to our soul life, our Greek life, and all the students in our body, and be able to, that I know their voice. That will be by through survey, town halls that we have implemented, and many other communication outreach. my role is to just really be able to represent them. And with my new positions of director of external affairs, my positions of communication, of director of communication, these and the coordinators of outreach, I know that I'll be able to accomplish this mission, and that's for me, the most important role of me as Regent is to be able to represent the 50,000 plus students here,
Thank you.
So I think as my role as vice president, I said it here at the beginning of this debate, but I think it's obviously it's a humbling experience to get to work with the student body, but I think as vice president, it's my role to lead our new and our returning senators and to make sure that they feel comfortable when they're leading in this position. I feel like sometimes when you sit in Senate, you're not really sure what to do, right? You're kind of left with like, well, I'm here and I have this leadership position, but I don't really know what to do. So I think we need to start leading our senators and giving them kind of, direction and where they should go, but not limiting them to what they want to achieve in the year. I also think it's my due diligence to make sure that we maintain, obviously, a variety of different opinions from our senators and making it open to the student body as well, since I am up on the podium and making sure that, we're maintaining kind of this, it's my job to maintain an environment that is, not only comfortable for our senators, but also comfortable for the student body when we welcome in constituents to talk about their experiences or about their concerns.
Thank you. Amir?
All right, I believe my job as chief of staff is to make SGA run like a well-oiled machine. I want efficiency, but over that, I want our staff to be a community, a family. I want us to be well tight-knit together. So it's not just like a club you're in, or it's not just people you're in this organization with. They're your friends, they're your close, they're your close community. Furthermore, I feel like as chief of staff is to fill in the gaps of what needs to be done. So I plan to personally be a jack of all trades. When it's someone, they need people to help with rules, I help with rules. When they need someone to help with outreach, I help with outreach. Additionally, I also plan to pick people who match their roles for our executive board. I want people who are dedicated and happy to be here and aren't just putting it on the resume.
All right, thank you, guys. We'll go to Drew. Again, the question is, what do you believe the importance of your role will be if you're elected?
Absolutely. I feel like there are two different ways that I want to approach if I am to be elected. One, it's advocacy and inclusivity. I grew up in a town of 2,000 people, and as a gay man, I always felt like I was an outcast. When I first stepped onto the UNO campus 2.5 years ago, I felt like I was at home. And I want to make sure that that's how every student feels, whether they're a prospective student or whether they're a current student. And that's what's most important, is that if you are a student here, you belong here and you are seen and your voice will be amplified no matter your background, no matter your belief. Period.
Thank you. Aditi?
As vice president, I think it's important to allow senators to push for resolutions that benefit the student body. Senators are there to write resolutions, but sometimes they don't get the support they need. So as VP, I would like to provide the support they need so that they can succeed and so that they can impact their colleges downstream. I also think it's my role to create an environment where students and senators can voice their concerns how they feel like it. There's been moments where senators have been afraid to express their actual opinions due to backlash. And I think it's my role to ensure that they do not fear that when they have to say something, that they say something that they think is truly important and is what their beliefs are, because you should not have to get rid of your beliefs when you step into SGA.
Thank you. Gio?
As chief of staff candidate, I think the biggest thing I could say as this position requires is be able to work with logistics and being able to oversee a board of members, specifically the executive cabinet. So given my experience working on the executive cabinet as president of Pi Kappa Alpha, I've kind of learned what to do and what not to do when it comes to, leading a meeting. You want to make sure that everyone is speaking up. Everyone has a voice, kind of what Aditi was saying. You don't want people to feel overshadowed by what someone else is saying. You want to make sure everyone has equal opportunity to speak up and say what they have concerns with. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, what we talk about in student government may be controversial. We might disagree with one another, but we need to realize that we are representing the student body, and the entire student body is very diverse. There's a lot of different ideas that come with it. So as someone who's going to be working with the executive board, I want to make sure that it's the same way that it's going to be in Senate as the executive board. People aren't scared to speak up and that they're able to use their voice to really create change and holding them accountable. That's one thing I see all the time. People are not doing their jobs. And if someone's not doing their jobs, everything starts to fall apart. So just making sure we're holding our leaders in SGA accountable and making sure that they also have a platform to where they can amplify your voices, because ultimately everyone that is in SGA is put in that place by all of you as students.
All right, perfect timing. It is 7 o'clock. We're gonna take a quick 5-minute break so we can get the audience questions ready. If you guys can be back by, it's almost 7:01, so 7:06, please.
How's it going? Yeah, all right. I know, bro. Someone else is wearing it now. Other teammates. They keep looking in the eyes. So just so you know. Of course, give them a hard time.
No, well, I. So, let's. Yeah.
They're actually bringing them right now.
More Qdoba bowls in a minute. Wow, everybody got really quiet. Just need a couple more minutes.
Trying to get it small, not be stressed about it.
No, I said, yeah, I hear that.
Oh my god.
Oh my God, yes.
That's literally what stuff. Exactly.
What's?
How you get on that?
Say,
Go into the fan. No. I think it's like, you know, unfortunately, not. I didn't really learn Zero. You don't have any out of your video. Yeah, I just, I'm pretty confident. One night.
okay. If you guys can start taking your seats, we're gonna get started again.
So, yeah, it was like playing and you could.
Sierra, you grab my. All right, everyone, welcome back. There were a lot of audience questions. We are not gonna have the time to get through all of them. But I want to start off, an audience member asked, why should the student body elect either ticket if the initiatives they want to do can be done within their current positions? Start with the torch. So again, why should the student body elect either ticket if the initiatives they want to do can be done in their current positions? Go ahead.
Yes, I love this question and it's very good because it's something
Hold on a
important.
sec, hold on.
Oh.
Hey, guys. Shh, thank you. Go ahead.
So this is a very wonderful question, and yeah, something very important, which is timelines. Timelines and how efficient can we actually make things happen that we promise. I'm very glad to announce that most of my initiatives and things that I'm pushing forward can be done and started on day one. And a lot of my initiatives will start day one and work throughout the summer, and we'll be pretty much up and running in August as we here in our term, and we're gonna be a well-oiled machine, just like we mentioned, and we're gonna be able to output many of our initiatives right from the get-go. Many initiatives that are being mentioned like Sodexo, the Sodexo, like make it cheaper, or working with Sodexo, working with the bookstore to lower prices. All these other initiatives, they're also very great, but at the same time, it's ones that will take much time to put that out running, and be able to implement it to the student body and feel that effect. Something that we saw this year as we also went big, but now most initiatives are gonna be completed by May when the next administration is gonna be in place. This is something that I really wanna steer off from, and I wanna be able to complete everything in an efficient manner and within my term, so students can see instant impact.
Unify UNO, why should you guys be elected if there are things you could have done in your current position on student government?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think this year there's been a lot going on this year that we've really tried to put in the forefront, with making sure that our agencies have all the funding that they need to support their operations, stuff like that, that's really taken full priority. And I think one thing we've seen, especially for, I don't know about all of you guys, but as we get closer and closer to the end of the spring semester, more people get tired, they get burnt out. I think moving into the fall is when we're gonna have the biggest push. We're gonna have a brand new Senate that is super excited to get moving on these initiatives. We're gonna have a brand new exec board. I think moving into this new SGA administration with the new exec, with the new Senate, it's gonna be the best time to really make the most out of the opportunity moving from the summer into the fall. That's when the most change is gonna be made. So that's why I believe moving into the fall is the best time rather than now, because we have a lot to do and a lot to wrap up before we get done with elections.
Thank you. Go ahead, Carlos.
I would just
15
like-
seconds.
Yes, I would just like to rebuttal. We need to start implementing a lot of these new systems now, because if not, we're gonna start very slowly actually in the fall. We started this year to really start working in August on implementing things, and that's really slowed our pace down. That's something that I really wanna make sure that we avoid in my administration.
Go ahead, Gio.
I think when we're looking at long-term solutions, we can't do everything on day one. These kind of things take time. We need to make sure that we are thinking this through perfectly to where we are making the best decisions that are going to have the best long-term impact.
Quickly, and then I'm moving on.
Yes, I would just like to rebuttal and say that I say we start building day one. Does not mean that we'll finish day one. In the end of the day, as we build it up, we just wanna make sure that we start building as soon as possible instead of letting it for August.
Okay, there were lots of questions about this. I believe almost all of you up there right now have served in some capacity on Student Government Association. How have you dealt with conflict? Again, there were probably like 10 questions about that. I'm gonna start with Unify UNO.
Is this one for each of us or? Let's answer it in a minute.
Kind of all of you. I'll give you guys 2 minutes, each 2 minutes. So all of you though, yes.
Okay, I'll start. So like I said, Free the Facts has really taught me a lot about how to work with people who have different beliefs. It first says, let's try to find common ground where we can, right? And then build off of that. We might, if we take a step back, disagree on some things, but let's focus on what we can agree with. So in my time in student government, working in budget committee, there's been a lot of, things that have happened where I need to take a step back and work with the person. It takes patience, it takes collaboration, it takes going back, it takes a lot of patience. You can't rush things, you can't try to force what you believe onto someone else. You need to find common ground. And I think that is the most important thing when it comes to working through disagreements.
For me, I feel like dealing with conflict is you cannot, like, when something happens right away, you cannot immediately act on it. You need to talk to your team, you need to talk to the student body and figure out what is the actual response that needs to be made and how is everyone feeling. You can't just make a decision based on what you believe. It has to be a decision on, because again, if I'm to be elected, I am representing you guys. What I believe is what you guys believe. It's not what I like. I'm not taking what my beliefs, I'm taking your beliefs to the administration. I'm taking your beliefs to the Board of Regents.
As I said before, we all come from diverse backgrounds, and so what I believe is not what you believe. And so I think it's really important that we all communicate, that we come together, discuss what's going on, discuss what areas we are not agreeing on, and based on that, move forward. And if there are conflicts, to have a meeting, and again, communicate. Nothing can go wrong with communication. And just listening to what the issues are is a long way to go.
Thank you. The Torch, same question. How have you handled conflict within SGA?
Well, let me start with, I don't think conflict is bad. I think conflict just means everyone cares. Like everyone cares about what's being presented. And I also think that it's a great opportunity to see all sides of an issue, see what other people are seeing that you're not, or try to see why they think that way. As conflict wise, there has been, whether it's wording on resolutions or how a certain event should occur, all it takes is just hearing each other out and being civil. Civil is the biggest thing, and in our administration, I will make sure our SGA is civil.
Go ahead.
Yes, conflict resolution. I think this year we learned that lesson really by my mentors here and the current exec team was able to really learn how to make sure to go to the right channels to voice my concerns and voice how I feel about certain things before we go along and address that person one-to-one. I'll say this very importantly, is just recognizing that we're all full picture people. We're here, students. We're also part of the SGA. We're also part of a family home. We're also part of our jobs. We have a full perspective life, so maybe got angry with my job, maybe I react a little bit differently here at SGA because of that. It's very important to make sure that you approach every single person within this campus with that approach, just knowing that there's more going on than what you know. And it's all about just making sure that you actually have those talks one-on-one with them. But I have learned that lesson this year and I really know that I would like to share my experiences as we begin the whole student movement.
Rosie, you've got 30 seconds.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna take a little bit more of a humanistic perspective. We talk a lot about jobs and everything that goes on in student government. I think the outside work that you also do outside of student government, or whether that's reflecting on your actions, really taking the time to be honest with yourself. Maybe you went wrong somewhere, maybe you didn't respond in the way that people would have appreciated, and really taking the time to implement those mistakes with new action, and really taking the time to understand where we went wrong and then coming back to it.
All right, so this one I'm gonna start with the Torch. Understanding the limitations of SGA, how do you plan on creating real change? Looks like the point of this question talks a lot about SGA writing resolutions and signing executive memorandums, but that doesn't get to the heart of the issues at hand. So understanding your limitations still, how would you want to go about creating real change? Go ahead.
I love this question. It's not really about resolutions and EMs, it's about what they have in them. Make sure that we put dedication in those resolutions. For example, my 2 resolutions this year, both of them, we worked on them for months, each one of them, and we worked with a lot of student leaders to put them out. Once those resolutions got put out and got approved by the Senate floor, they exploded into the student conscious. And my Greek resolution actually got even heard in Greek life at Lincoln. These are things that really have impacted, and for my EMs and for the resolutions that are passed by the Senate, it's all about the content within them and what we're gonna do. All my EMs are centered on action to the student body. We're gonna go to the student body through those EMs. We're gonna work. We're sending people to work with the student body, sending people to connect with the student body, and that's the purpose. And that's how I know it will impact within the power of SGA our whole student body. Because every single EM that I'm gonna put out will directly implement you talking to you, and that's how I know it will impact way beyond just SGA's very limited capabilities.
I do want to push back just a little bit. What would you say to students that feel like resolutions or EMs aren't getting the job done?
Well, easy. It's all about advocating. It's all about making sure SCA members, even beyond that, really advocate with them and really stand with them on issues. A lot of students, when they pass a resolution, they pass anything within our body, we really don't follow up on them. We really don't act on the resolution. We don't really help them out afterwards. It's like it passes and hopefully we pick it back up. This is something that we saw with outfitters. When we pass out, we're gonna get them a storage room and we've never follow up on it. And it is April and we still have not followed up on that promise. It's all about being able to follow up on what they asked for our student body and make sure that this not only words, but also action.
Thank you. Unify UNO?
Another question.
Yeah, of course. So understanding the limitations of SGA, you guys are students, you only have so much time, but how do you plan on creating real change? It says writing resolutions and signing executive memorandums doesn't actually solve any issues. So how do you feel like you can create actual change?
I think it is important to note that there are going to be opportunities for growth every time, and we just have to be on the lookout. With our experience, we have seen what where areas can be finding loopholes in situations, finding where the right moment is that we can jump into situations and take opportunity of those timings to ensure that we can actually push things out and that they do have the effect that they need to have.
Yeah, I would just like to continue off that a little bit. I do kind of want to agree with the question that's asking, saying that resolutions and EMs don't really do as much as what they should be doing. I would like to say that I think resolutions really are just a way to tell the students what we are doing, what we're taking in, what your concerns are, and we're telling you, hey, we agree with you and this is something that we want to do. So I think something that we could do is do it on a smaller level where we're reaching out to you guys, because I think we can do the same exact thing where if we're communicating directly with you and we're united, because real change starts with you. We've seen it time and time again in history that if we come together and we advocate for something that we believe in, change does occur, and positive change occurs. So if we come back to you guys and we come together and it's something that's physical, we are there in the moment. It's not just on a piece of paper. We're actually present in that moment, trying to create change. Change will follow.
Got 10 seconds. I think that's just like a big word, just to sum it up, is follow through. If there is an executive memorandum that is signed, if there's a resolution that's signed or passed through Senate, it's the follow through after that. It's not just about passing it and being done with it.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm gonna tackle this head on here. So there were a lot of questions about this as well. There have been a lot of accusations about student government being a Hayden House organization, kind of in a derogatory sense. I would like both tickets to kind of talk about that. The question is directed at the Torch. Can you elaborate more on how SGA is quote unquote a Hayden House organization? Go ahead.
So I will start with, I feel like we have an essence of complacency because we're scared to speak out or step on any toes. And I feel like that shouldn't be it. And also I feel like we're speaking ahead of the student body when we should be speaking with the student body. And in our administration, we have our implements, we have our structures to speak with you guys, not over you guys.
The reasoning for the Hayden House term being put into our administration is mainly because it seems like when we are moving as a student government, we prioritize first administration, and they more look at that in the Hayden House where we have our dean of students and they know that's somebody that's speaking but for them at administrative level, and they see that student government is kind of following suit, even though we have resolutions passing that is to support our student body. Sometimes we stop from really going on to them and really pushing for them because the Hayden House or anybody in admissions tells us kind of like pull back from it. That's something that I heard by talking to student leaders directly and then telling it to me and just being aware of it. This is not something that is just a term or coin. It's something that student leaders are saying about SGA, and they feel about SGA. And that's something that I think if you go around and ask our student leaders, you really will find out and really will know this is something going on.
I would like to disagree with the question. I think it discredits all the people who have put the hard work into fighting for our agencies and ensuring that they have the funding they need. Huge shout out to our executive board for student government. if we really were taking a knee to the Hayden House, I don't think the agencies would have any funding at all. I think the agencies would have been disbanded already. So I think maybe the student who wrote this question may not have seen all the hard work that's put behind. And I do think that kind of comes with transparency. I think student government needs to be more transparent with the steps that they are taking, because when you aren't transparent, you're not communicating, those are assumptions that are made, and that student is right to assume that because they don't see what's going on in the back end.
Real quick, do you guys have anything to add?
What time is left?
You've got, I can't do
About
math.
50
I'm not a
seconds.
STEM major, guys. 50 seconds. There we go.
I think we're okay for now.
Okay, all right. You had a rebuttal?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would really like to emphasize, this is not something that is only just a question, this is something, a feeling, this is an emotion that a lot of leaders here feel like, discrediting what they feel. For me, it is something that I just disagree with, it's something that we really need to address and talk to them, and I do agree with the transparency portion.
Reached your rebuttal time.
Go ahead.
I just wanted to reiterate my point that, like I said, that student is right to feel that that's the term that we should take, because there's no transparency. We need to be more transparent so they know exactly what we're doing. I am not discrediting their feelings in any way.
I do want to push back on both tickets, though. I do want to ask you guys, do you worry about how this in and of itself could affect the relationship with administration here at UNL? I'll start with the torch.
I'll say this, when we talk about administration, I'm very pushing much that we need to take a step back and really work on ourselves and build up our organization as a whole to make our organization stronger, not only in name, but in action. And really what we can do as an organization on our own without the restrictions of just thinking, what will admin think about it? Sometimes I do want to make sure that we can do things on our own and push it with our own strength, And the concern about hurting the relationship, it's nothing. When we build up, but also working with administration and we're both strong, then we can both come together and do even stronger things together. But when administration has they're pushing us so much up, they're gonna get tired sometimes. I wanna make sure that we're both strong and we can both push strongly together both associated organizations.
Torch, you've still got 45 seconds if you want to add anything, otherwise we can move on.
Furthermore, I think that everyone knows we have power in numbers. So if our administration plans to repair actually the bonds with our students, our organization, we want them coming to us. And when we have power in numbers, we can do anything we need. And when we have power in numbers, the administration has to listen because it's the student body. It's the people that go here. It's the people that make our games.
Yeah, and I think that, this past year has been really polarizing between different things, especially as far as politics goes. And I think it's really important to understand that we are not discrediting any of our senators or executive branch. I think that there's a lot of respect there, but I also think that we have not served the student body at the capacity that we can.
Reached your time.
And you can always continue if you want to after Unify goes. Go ahead.
I think when it comes to, potentially hurting the relationship with administration, we need to realize what our vision are, what our vision is. With student government, our vision is the students, ensuring that you guys are all taken care of. The administration's vision is also the students. So we need to, like I said, take a step back and realize that is what we're working towards and not lose sight of that vision. Also, when it comes to, that aspect of, our relationship with the Hayden House, in a perfect world, we would have a great relationship with the administration and also doing the most we can for students. But like I said, as student government, as a student organization that represents you students, we put your priorities first. And if anything comes in the way with that, we have to be ready to stand up and speak out. We have to be ready to advocate for you.
Yeah, and just to kind of finish off what I was saying before, we're not discrediting anyone within our Senate or student government, but we also want to understand that there are problems going on right now between student leaders as well as, the administrators. And I think it's really important that we take a look at that and understand why this is happening. I don't think it's very appropriate to be like, well, we're discrediting people or we're worried about the relationship. I think everyone has a worry about the relationship.
I'm sorry.
I gotta go to them
Yes.
first. Anything to add? Okay, all right. I am gonna go ahead and move on then. Last question from the audience questions, and then I've got one more to wrap up. In the past year, in SGA, there have been cases of censorship during disagreements in Senate business meetings. What are your opinions on the censoring of senators for having different opinions? I'm gonna start with Unify UNO.
I think it's important to note that as senators, we all have different opinions and different perspectives on how we approach things and how things should be done. I think it's just a matter of fact of valuing that and understanding that, yes, these different opinions are what's gonna build this whole thing better. If we don't acknowledge the differing opinions, I think we're in a standstill point where we can't move on.
And I'd like to build off that just a little bit more. The senators have differing opinions because you as a student body also have differing opinions. If we all had the same opinion, we wouldn't, we would all just be functioning perfectly fine, you know what I mean? So when we have these, these discussions and these debates, it's important that you know that your opinions, all opinions on campus are being heard no matter what. It's not just one opinion that's being heard.
And I think that falls on the responsibility of the executive board. If they are noticing that someone can't speak up because they feel that they're scared of retaliation, that falls on us as student leaders of student government to make sure that we are extending ourselves and reaching out and offering ourselves up as a resource to communicate and collaborate and bring those together to kind of resolve this issue. Because if we're not doing anything, then one side is getting too much speaking time, the other side's not getting enough, and we're not representing you the best that we can.
Go ahead.
Okay, I would say there's no place for censorship among our student government. If it's uncivil, that's a different story, but you're elected there to share your views and opinions, and differing opinions makes democracy. And in our, that's the reasoning why I want that sense of family, sense of friendship. So you're not afraid to voice your opinions to the people around you, to your peers. So then we can move forward. And that same idea of how conflict isn't bad, it's just another way to see all sides.
Yeah, and I think also with your actions and the way that you represent yourself in the Senate. I know I've learned this so much throughout my time in student government about the way I represent myself, but also understanding that the way you vote, the way you represent yourself, the way you're talking about student problems, making sure that we're speaking with respect and also transparency. Because yes, we all have differing opinions, but I also think sometimes the respect aspect of, what the agencies do or what students do, I think that can kind of lead to faulty roads. So it's very important to have mutual respect on both sides as well.
You have about 25 seconds left.
Yes, I will add to this. I will, as Regent, I will make sure that I have very good communication with our student court branch of government to ensure to understand to the extent of how many powers can a senator or people within our body use to really go and raise concerns about other members in SGA and make sure that it cannot be exploited to lower down voices. And if there's things to change.
Your time.
Go ahead. Or did you guys have a rebuttal?
I would just like to say, I think over this past year, there was one instance that really comes to mind where there was one senator who stood up out of their chair and outbursts again, right out of emotion against how other senators fell in their opinions. That is not right, in my opinion, and it is important that all opinions are voiced.
Time.
I just like to finish off. It's just making sure that the student court bylaws to make sure that it cannot be exploited to really attack any members of our SGA body and to just make sure that it cannot be abused into that kind of thing.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and move on to the last. It's actually two questions. I'm gonna be a little cheesy here. We're gonna end on a lighthearted note.
Yeah.
So real quick, we're gonna start with Rosie. We're gonna go down to Gio. What do you love most about UNO? And what's your favorite study spot? Go ahead.
I mean, I'm everywhere on campus, obviously. I think the community aspect, I also think it's just kind of, one person and then another person and then those two kind of come together and like, you kind of know everyone here on campus, it feels like. And I think that, there's a lot of things that I don't know how to put it into words, but just like our community and the way that we kind of just go above and beyond for each other. I think that's what's really great about UNO, especially working on campus and also on Dodge campus as well, just seeing, or especially as an RA living on housing, I think that's a really beautiful thing. My favorite study spot, I would say it'd be like the third floor on the library, or it'd be Roskins right now.
Yes, my favorite thing about UNO, I just really need to emphasize is the UNO community. It's something that defines us and really is the thing that people from other campuses identify with us right away. And really the UNO student community has helped me in many ways saved my life more than once, and it's my favorite part of being here at UNL, and it's something that I will forever keep in my heart, regardless of this election's outcome. My favorite study spot, I have so many, but I just need to say, reality is it was Dash and Success Academy. Both of those rooms really have so many good memories for me, and the people that I met there, and who I became eventually to be in this university, and not only study spots, but just beyond that, just like life-defining places just to be in.
I mean,
I think my favorite thing is that on our campus, in our community, it's not hard to find meaning. There's like a lot of different organizations, a lot of different groups of people. You can feel supported, you can feel heard, and you can find a way to get engaged with the people around you. And then as for my favorite study spot, I'm gonna be honest, I like it so much I'm gonna have to gatekeep it because I can't. I'm sorry, everyone. It's good.
all right, thank you so much, Aditi.
One thing I love about UNO is the diversity and inclusion here. The reason why I came to UNO was because I saw people who look like me, and that's the reason why I stayed. As for my favorite study spot, I know I'm supposed to say PKI, but I love Maple Hall, so.
So for me, I already kind of touched on this earlier tonight, but a big reason why I chose UNO is because of the inclusivity that I felt when I first came here. I had never experienced anything like it in my life. And when I first stepped foot on campus, I felt at home. And that is a big reason of why I'm running. I want to make sure that every student feels that. I want to make sure that every student is advocated for and that each student feels included in every conversation. Now to my favorite study spot. We all might be saying Mammal Hall, but mine is also Mammal Hall. There's like a study room that's kind of like back around like a corner, and I can just kind of like zone out and get my homework done, and it's just so nice to just like zone in for like 2 hours and just get everything done. So.
Thank you, Gio.
Yeah, so I'll start with the second question. I'll be a little more specific. My favorite spot is the second floor of the Rod Roden Wing in Mammal Hall. It's truly beautiful. If you guys have ever been there, there's a great view of like the streets and stuff. It's beautiful. You see the sunsets there all the time. But I would say my favorite thing about UNO is just seeing how hard all of the students work. You know, a lot of people that I meet, they're taking 18 plus credits. They're involved in multiple organizations. They're working full time to support themselves through college. You don't see that in many other colleges or many other universities. And I think that's something that's truly inspiring. It's motivated me as a freshman to where I am now to get involved and to keep working hard because I'm surrounded by a bunch of people that are pushing themselves just the same way. So that's my favorite thing.
Thank you. Real quick before everybody jumps up. So with that, we've come to the end of the 2025 SGA Executive Ticket Debate. A couple of reminders. We want to encourage everybody to attend the meet and greet this Thursday from 3 to 5 in the Milo Vale Student Center Ballroom, second floor, right? Okay, and that will be an opportunity to talk and meet with Senate candidates as well as the executive ticket. Voting begins next Monday, a week from today at 8 a.m. and it'll close Wednesday, the 16th at 5 p.m. And the results of the election will then be announced 2 days after that on Friday, April 18th at 10 a.m. I want to thank the candidates for their time tonight. Thank you all for being with us. Thanks to the rest of the Election Commission. And of course, thanks to the wonderful Sierra Roseby for helping with all of this. And have a good night, everyone.
Y'all have been signing, could you please come up here and just.
If you did not sign in, please sign in before you leave.
No closing statements.
Hey, oh, okay, it is. Oh, it's not that close.
Oh.
He was good.
Yeah.